It is 1700 hours GMT, 1 p.m. in Washington. Breaking news from the United States, where the Pentagon has for the first time released home videos of al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. Videos removed by Navy SEALs after the operation in Abbottabad, Pakistan on May the 1st that killed al-Qaeda's leader. Now, these pictures that you're seeing right now on your screen were not quite sure what they are supposed to be showing, but hopefully we'll get a clearer picture in just a second. These pictures were first shown to journalists during a closed briefing at the Pentagon just a short while ago. Our Rosalind Jordan was in that meeting, joins us now live from the Pentagon. Rosalind, tell us about what you saw. What pictures did you see of al-Qaeda's leader?
Well, Folly, what is on our screen right now is the beginning of the feed of 5 clips of video, which a senior intelligence official shared with reporters here at the Pentagon. One of those clips is an unaired but complete message from Osama bin Laden himself, outlining his ongoing complaints and criticisms of the U.S. government, of U.S. culture, of capitalism. However, we did not hear the audio of this. There are 2 other clips which the senior intelligence official is describing as outtakes, the official attempting to describe what he was trying to do was trying to record 2 other messages, and there were either technical mistakes or performance mistakes. Then there was, really interestingly, a video of Osama bin Laden watching Al Jazeera Arabic on what appears to be a small television set hooked up to a satellite dish receiver. The photographer pulls out and broadens the view in the room, where you can see a very aged Osama bin Laden with a very gray beard sitting and wearing what appears to be some sort of blanket, holding a television remote and essentially watching file video of himself and of his number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in file video being broadcast appears on Al Jazeera Arabic. The senior intelligence official tells us, Foley, that they're not able to date this. And then there's also a short excerpt from the introduction to another video that had been prepared, but interestingly, Foley, nothing really showing Osama bin Laden engaged in what this official describes as being in active command and control of the al-Qaeda enterprise, actively working on plots and working out the tactics and the strategies to carrying out attacks against U.S. interests.
Again, Rosalind, this is material that was removed by the Navy SEALs after the operation in Abbottabad, Pakistan, that killed al-Qaeda's leader.
Correct.
And I believe what we're watching right now is that first clip, which you were describing to us just a short while ago, of an unaired but complete message of bin Laden. As Rosalind said, no audio. So we can't exactly hear what the al-Qaeda leader is saying. Rosalind, did they tell you why they chose not to air the audio?
Very simply, Foley, the official said that the U.S. government was not interested in sharing the propaganda of al-Qaeda or of any of its affiliates, and it made the decision that once it was going to release these clips, to scrub all of the audio from all of these clips. So what our viewers are seeing right now is what reporters were shown in this briefing at the top of the last hour. They are also admit that they're still analyzing all of the material which they say they simply have so much to catalog that they can't even give us a number of how much they're trying to analyze, but they need to have Arabic speakers look at this material and try to do a translation in context. They also need to try to date this material, and they also need to try to find out, and they say this is most important, see if there is any actionable intelligence. As our viewers may know, on Thursday there was an alert sent to U.S. transportation sector from the Department of Homeland Security about the al-Qaeda desire a year ago, February, to perhaps launch some sort of attack against the rail sector. They're trying to see even though that doesn't have any corroborating information, they're trying to see if there is perhaps corroborating information about this plan or any other plans that may be contained in all of this material.
All right,
and it is important to note, Folly, that this is the only material we're going to see, and they say all of it is classified.
I was going to ask you that, in fact, Roslyn, because according to a U.S. intelligence official, this intelligence cache from bin Laden's compound is the largest ever from a single terrorism suspect. Why are they choosing to show these particular home videos?
Well, what they're trying to do, Folly, is to establish that Osama bin Laden in May 2011 was still a very clear and present threat to the national security interest of the United States and of its allies. That can't be any plainer than that. They say he was a target. He had the U.S. in his sights, and they felt that he needed to be removed from the scene.
All right, Roslyn, stand by. Let's bring in Wayne Matson, an investigative journalist who joins us live from Washington, D.C. as, again, we watch these new pictures of al-Qaeda's leader Osama bin Laden, just released by the Pentagon for the first time, in fact, since bin Laden was killed in an operation in Pakistan. Roslyn Jordan telling us earlier that there are 5 clips in total, and I believe we're watching the first one here of an unaired but complete message of Osama bin Laden. Wayne, what do you make of what we're seeing right now?
Well, I think the fact is that the Pentagon won't release the audio portion. It seems like the Pentagon is digging itself into a bigger hole along with the White House. We're constantly told one thing, and then we get these recantations. There's also a report that the CIA tried to get audio of bin Laden before he was shot and killed in Abbottabad, but they weren't able to get a voice print or a voice recording of him. So we have we're having to believe everything the Pentagon and the White House are telling us. But I think the mere fact that we did have an indication that there was going to be a bin Laden tape where he was giving a message earlier this week. It came from a group called the Site Intelligence Group here in Washington, which is known to be very linked to Israeli intelligence circles. I think we have to be very skeptical about this so-called evidence, and also the fact that the Pentagon is saying that terabytes of information gathered from bin Laden's computers are classified. We're supposed to believe everything they tell us without looking at the original information. I think this is going to feed, unfortunately, for the Pentagon and White House into the circles that are already questioning the official story that we were told.
All right. Roslyn, Wayne makes an interesting point there, and that's the fact that we have indeed been getting conflicting information from the White House since this operation that killed Osama bin Laden took place on May the 1st. One of them being, of course, whether or not he was armed at the time he was shot. What are they saying there about their storyline, the fact that it's been changing?
Well, they didn't say anything specifically because people didn't raise the question. We were much more interested in this briefing about what they actually found about life inside the compound. We were very interested in finding out some information about what sorts of plots bin Laden apparently was planning. We were very interested in finding out whether or not there was, how much damage there has been done to the greater al-Qaeda network, and perhaps most interestingly, who would be replacing bin Laden. We were really focused on those questions, but not so much on the message, as many people call it here in Washington.
All right, now we're watching, what we're seeing right now on this new feed is a second clip. I believe this one is what you were describing to us earlier, Roslyn, of the al-Qaeda leader watching television, watching Al Jazeera Arabic, I believe, a video of the al-Qaeda leader. And there you see he's basically watching himself.
Correct. And in fact, as this video clip rolls out, you'll actually see the image broaden, where you will see bin Laden sitting on the floor, surrounded by some bolsters, wearing some sort of blanket or heavy woolen robe. There you see the file video that was being broadcast, and then you're going to see the image dip down right now, and there is a very old-looking Osama bin Laden, a very gray beard, very gaunt, but holding the remote with his right hand, not doing anything, not gesturing or doing anything with his left hand, and that may be indicative of some injury that he suffered when U.S. forces were trying to go after him in Tora Bora, Afghanistan in the late fall of 2001. There you see the camera moving back to this small television set where there is more video rolling out, and then every so often that channel selector comes back up on the screen and now you see him in a two-shot, as it were, with his number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri. This is, they're trying to figure out exactly if this was recorded inside the compound. They say that you can hear bin Laden on the tape, apparently giving instructions to someone on how to film this scene. It's certainly something that they want to try to kind of date down on, to really try to get a sense of what was going on contemporaneously in order to see if there's intelligence that the U.S. and its allies might be able to use.
All right. Again, as you point out, and it's interesting to note, the bin Laden that we're seeing on this particular image is an older looking man. So this would, we're not making,
right.
This would suggest that this is perhaps fairly recent, but they wouldn't tell you that when exactly this particular video was taken or how long they had him under surveillance.
No, they did reiterate the point which President Barack Obama made at the beginning of this week, that the investigation first came about, or really started coming together, in August 2010, when they first started getting what the senior intelligence official described as circumstantial evidence, but it was strong enough in their view to actually start pursuing this lead. They say that things didn't really come together until the night of May 1st, when those operatives went in and conducted the raid on bin Laden's compound. However, they do go on to indicate that one of the things that they have to do is, once they catalog all of this material, is actually then try to figure out when things were recorded, where things were recorded. They say that they are working with Pakistani officials to be able to carry out their investigation, because, as you might expect, they would certainly want to return to that compound to actually examine what is still there for themselves.
All right, again, if you're just joining us on Al Jazeera, we're watching the first pictures released by the Pentagon of Al-Qaeda's leader Osama bin Laden, pictures that were removed by Navy SEALs after the operation in Abbottabad, Pakistan, that killed bin Laden earlier this week. And just a second ago, we saw an image of Osama bin Laden watching himself on television. And interestingly, Rosin, on that particular picture, there was a TV screen, a small TV screen, and also a computer on the right-hand side of the screen there next to Osama bin Laden. But nonetheless, a very small, very rudimentary room, it seems, the Al-Qaeda leader was in.
That's right. And when we asked about the equipment that was recovered during this 40-minute long raid, apparently computers, hard drives, computer disks were all recovered, but not the actual television sets or satellite dish receivers or anything, presumably because they were too big and bulky to scoop up in a hurry. However, they do indicate that there is a considerable amount of information that they need to pore through, and that it simply can't be done in just a matter of days. They do say, however, that they are working around the clock to figure out what they have, and then to figure out what's in it, and then what they ought to be doing with it.
All right, let's bring back Wayne Madsen, an investigative journalist who's also joining us to comment these latest pictures that we are receiving from the Pentagon of Al-Qaeda's leader Osama bin Laden. Wayne, a Pentagon official just saying now that this compound in Pakistan, where the U.S. forces killed bin Laden, was, quote, an active command and control center where the Al-Qaeda leader remained in strategic and operational control of the organization. What do you make of that? What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's hard to believe it could be an active command and control center when we know that bin Laden avoided the use of telephones, but we were told that one of the reasons the CIA and the National Security Agency was interested in this particular compound was because it lacked landline telephones and also cell phone communications. It was sort of like a communications blind spot right in the middle of a Pakistani military cantonment, which is right next to the Pakistani version of our West Point Military Academy. But now we're told it was a major command and control center without any sort of communications. All these computers now we're being told were being used, and other equipment, video equipment and what have you. It seems, again, we're seeing the storyline change from what we were told before. This was a sort of a high-tech dead zone, and now we're told it was a major command and control center. The story keeps changing, it seems.